Well done. Well done, you complete fucking idiot. Hello, welcome to my channel, Comments and Ampersands. My name is Sarah, and this is my reading vlog for The Hunger Games. The deal is that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out this week. I bought it. But before I went back into the world of Pan Am, I wanted to read the original 3 books and kind of immerse myself in what was happening again, because I hadn't read them in ages and I felt like I needed a refresher. Not of the content, because Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a prequel, so I shouldn't need to know anything, but just in case there are some references to things that have happened, I wanted to be able to pick them up. So I have now read these 3, and you will see how I went with that in my reading vlog, and I am about to start the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. For the first part of this video, I'm going to insert a mini spoiler-free review of Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes when I finish it, and that part will go after this intro. And then after that, I will give you the reading vlog / experience of me rereading The Hunger Games, and then my reading vlog of this one. That is my scheduled programming, and I will put timestamps in the description box so that you can skip to different sections if there's a specific part that you want to pay attention to and you don't want to watch the entire thing. That's fine. I know it's a lot. I know this is probably going to be a big video, so I'm not going to force you to watch it through as many times as I will have to when I'm editing it. Now, on to future Sarah for my spoiler-free review. I've finished reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Overall, I would say that this book is probably a 3-star read for me. I really enjoyed the world building, as I always have with Suzanne Collins's books. The plot in this one was fairly slow and fairly easy to predict, and I unfortunately could not really connect to the main character no matter how hard I tried, because he just was a bit bland. If I hadn't known what he grew up to be, I still don't know if it would have been enough for me to connect to his character. There was just nothing that really gripped me the way that Katniss's character did. I identified with her so much more, just with her internal monologue, her sense of humour, like all of those things I was able to connect with a lot more, and I just never managed to do that with Snow. I wanted him to be able to sway me. I wanted to be able to have some moment of like incredible sympathy and go, yes, okay, I can see how it's upsetting that he has gone from this young man to the person that he becomes, and I never had that because he was always just a little bit too much of an asshole. And I didn't really vibe with Lucy for the most part. I wouldn't recommend that anyone who is starting out reading The Hunger Games for the first time start with this book. I don't think that that's a good idea, because this was far less gripping and far less interesting to me than the other ones were. This is more like supplementary material. I think 3 stars is an appropriate rating for it. I'm not bone deep disappointed. It didn't shatter my love for The Hunger Games. It just wasn't as good as the original books, and I didn't feel like it was an entirely necessary contribution to the existing story. From here, I am going to go into a very spoilery vlog of me rereading the first Hunger Games books and how they affected me. If you have not read the Hunger Games books, if you have not seen the Hunger Games movies, if you intend to do either of those things at any stage and you don't want spoilers, I recommend you click away now. Thank you very much for watching this far, but click away, because we are about to head deep into spoiler territory. No holds barred. I'm talking about all the deaths, all of the happy moments, some of the happy moments, there's not very many, but everything that happens in these books is fair game for the next section of this video, which is now. Hello, it is Sunday the 17th of May. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes comes out on Wednesday for us in Australia, I believe, and I have not started my reread of The Hunger Games. In my mind, I would be like finishing Catching Fire right now and then reading Mockingjay over the next couple of days so that I could pick up Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes straight away on Wednesday and smash through it. Did that happen? No, because it took me longer than I thought to read the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, and also because for the past few days I have just been exhausted because of health reasons and other activities like gardening. I'm a hardcore gardener now. So today I am going to be picking up The Hunger Games. I tried to start this last night, got like 2 pages in, and then just passed out from exhaustion. So I'm going to be settling in and forcing myself to read this book. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through it quickly. Like, I've already read it multiple times. This is a reread. I love this world, so, well, I don't love Pan Am, no one loves Pan Am, but I love these characters, and I'm hoping that I can read it as fast as I used to in my youth. I don't know if I still have that power, but fingers crossed. Partway through chapter 2, and every time they, like, do the kissing the fingers and holding up thing, like, this description just always makes me really emotional. It is an old and rarely used gesture of our district, occasionally seen at funerals. It means thanks, it means admiration, it means goodbye to someone you love. And I'm already really upset. I forgot how much I missed Katniss's dry sense of humour. She's talking about how maybe if she had thanked Peter at some stage, she wouldn't feel like she still owed him something when they've just been chosen for the Hunger Games. I'd thought about it a couple of times, but the opportunity never seemed to present itself, and now it never will, because we're going to be thrown into an arena to fight to the death. Exactly how am I supposed to work in a thank you in there? Somehow it just won't seem sincere if I'm trying to slit his throat. I missed you, baby. I completely forgot about Peter's dad, and the fact that he comes and visits Katniss before she leaves and gives her a bag of cookies. Like, does he do that for everyone who's about to leave? He just brings them cookies and he just sits with them and doesn't say anything, but he just wants them to have something nice. Because I can't imagine that he just like ran home and was like, I'm gonna get her some cookies, while he was sitting there freaking out about his son just being picked. I don't think he did that. So that's my only option, to just believe that he does that for every human being. I'm not okay. And I remembered that Madge was a character and that she gave Katniss the pin, but she's so insistent here that Katniss wear the pin. She's like, will you wear this? Will you wear this? I'll put this on your dress now. Just wear it. Just wear it. She has to know that it's a Mockingjay. Is Madge secretly a rebel? And now I'm just like having conspiracy theories about all these characters that I've completely forgotten about or brushed under the rug and only remembered them as surface level things. Completely forgot that they mentioned Joanna this early. And like what she was like in the games, I just assumed that she was always vicious. But she's talking about Peter because she sees him coming out of the car and he's crying and hasn't even bothered trying to cover it up, and thinks that he's trying to appear weak on purpose. This worked very well for a girl, Joanna Mason from District 7 a few years back. She seemed like such a snivelling, cowardly fool that no one bothered about her until there were only a handful of contestants left. Turned out she could kill viciously. I mean, that's my girl. I don't know whether I should reread books more often, or whether I should just always leave years and years between rereads and then just feel like I'm reading it again for the first time and forgetting all these details. This is magical. Well, now I remember why I didn't remember the biscuits that Peter's dad gave Katniss, because she threw them out the fucking window. Because she was like, I can't deal with somebody being kind to me, it's too difficult. Which is understandable, but just eat the biscuits. Even though he thinks he's going to die, Peter is still trying to be like really sweet and give Katniss a compliment about how good she looks in her flames, and all Katniss can think is, he's trying to kill me! He loves you, you idiot! It's Monday evening. I have just gotten home from my first day back in the office after working at home for 6 or 7 weeks, and I'm a bit rooted, not gonna lie to you. It wasn't a really difficult day or anything, it was just a completely different environment to what my body has become accustomed to, like brighter lights and not as many blankets or pajamas. So I'm a little bit tired, but I made really good progress with the Hunger Games last night. So before I got to bed, I got up to page 208. I read a little bit over lunch, up to page 240, and yeah, I'm hoping that I can smash out the rest of this tonight because it's such an easy read, but I wouldn't put it past myself to fall asleep. I definitely fell asleep. But can you blame me? Look how cute Leo is next to me. Alright, I'm gonna try reading again. And not falling asleep. I need to get something to eat too. Rue's dead. I read this book multiple times. I've seen the movie multiple times. I think I expected that her death would be less impactful after time. But it's just not. It's really not. It's still upsetting. And I forgot that when Katniss is holding her in her arms and Rue says, sing, and Katniss is like, if this is Prim's last request, if this is Rue's last request, I'm like just sitting here. Because Katniss keeps saying how much Rue reminds her of Prim. Katniss doesn't know if she's going to survive the arena, and she's sitting here. And this fucking game has made her feel like she is watching her own sister die, even though she did everything that she could to protect her sister. And Rue didn't deserve this. She deserves so much better. I can't talk about it, it's just making it worse. I forgot that they sent her the bread. Fuck. Shut up. Suzanne Collins, how dare you? Fuck off. I just finished the Hunger Games. I'm pretty proud of myself. I managed to get through that in basically 2 sittings. I definitely won't be able to finish both of the other ones tomorrow. Like, there's just no way that's gonna happen. Especially because I have to go to work again. And I only get like a half-hour break throughout the day. So most of my reading will have to be tomorrow night. Maybe I can smash out Catching Fire, I don't know. But I'll still pick up Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes on Wednesday and just have it ready to dive straight into. After Rue died and it was just like Peter and Katniss in the cave and then the end of the Hunger Games and everything, all I could keep thinking about was like how good the movie adaptation of this was. Like, there was obviously more depth between Katniss and Peter in the cave, because you could get all of Katniss's internal monologue and the way that she's like communicating with Haymitch and all that sort of stuff. You can kind of understand that a little bit better. But when it came to Cato dying on the cornucopia and everything like that, he was holding Peter and then she shot his hand and then it was pretty much all over. There wasn't any of his pleading or saying like, you know, I can still do this, I can still do this, or like crying or anything like that. And I think the movie just did so well to highlight like he's gone through some shit. He's not a good person at all. Not excusing anything that he has done, but he definitely went through some shit as well. And whew, there would have been some emotional scarring there if he had survived. I hate the Capitol so much. It's so twisted. Just astonishing. But yeah, I really do love this series. And I like that at the end of this book, there was a little bit more of Katniss and Peter's dynamic and like him realizing that she really had no idea how she felt about him and thinking that it was all an act and all that sort of stuff, and Katniss just starting to feel like she doesn't want to let go of him, but she doesn't really trust her feelings or anything like that. Just my poor babies. My poor babies. So anyway, it is pretty much time for bed. So I'm gonna maybe start Catching Fire and yeah, just pick it up tomorrow. I'm reading Catching Fire at the moment and I had just like completely forgot that Seneca Crane's not a part of the first book. Like, I think this is the first time he's mentioned, and yet he was such an important part. He and his beard was such an important part of the film adaptation that when I was reading the first book, I both didn't realize he was missing and felt like he was there the entire time. What a life we live, that this is the first time that he's mentioned, and I felt like he was with me on this entire journey. 2 more shots. The door doesn't muffle their sound much. Who was that? Thresher's grandmother? One of Rue's little sisters? If they fucking killed one of Rue's little sisters, I will raise the capital to the ground! Peter just found out that Katniss has been hiding stuff from him. And I remember him getting upset about this in the movie and everything. But when he says, so after all we went through in the arena, don't I even rate the truth from you? Yes, he does. Tell him everything. Like, I know this revolution is necessary, but I'm so upset. I'm fine, it's fiction. Not fine. They've just finished at the party at President Snow's place, and Katniss wakes up the morning afterwards and says that this is the first time she hasn't had nightmares. And I had a dream, though, I say, thinking back. I was following a mockingjay through the woods for a long time. It was Rue, really. I mean, when it sang, it had her voice. I'm just thinking about how Rue was really the mockingjay. Like, she was the whole reason that the rebellion started. If Katniss hadn't teamed up with her and Rue hadn't died and they hadn't shown their friendship that overcame all of the separation of the districts and everything like that, none of this would have happened. So you can call Katniss the mockingjay all you like, but it was Rue. And this right here, I'm going to take as evidence. This is me looking through an article for an essay, picking out the specific thing that corroborates my theory and using only that. Welcome to today's episode of Sarah rereads The Hunger Games while deeply hormonal. I got up to page 244 of Catching Fire yesterday. They've had the reaping for the quarter quell, and I think they're still on the train heading to Sadness and Doom. Lenny Kravitz, I'm just saying, brought so much to the character of Cinna. I remember Cinna being more charismatic than this, but honestly, unless I imagine Lenny Kravitz in my head, Cinna's kind of dull. It has to be said. That eyeliner, that swagger, keep it coming. Oh, Cinna dies. Why do I keep forgetting they all die? Finnick's here. Finnick's here. He's here. He came. Finnick dies too.
When does he die?
He dies when they're in the capital in Mockingjay and he's being chased by the mutts. And then he dies in the sewers.
Oh my god, he dies!
He dies. It's so upsetting.
I had completely blacked that out! What the fuck is up with these books?
Everyone's dying.
I'm sorry, I just ruined the take.
No.
That was shocking.
No, that's going in there. Katniss is talking about Finnick and how ever since he turned 16, he's spent his time at the games being dogged by those desperately in love with him. No one retains his favour for long. He can go through 4 or 5 in his annual visit. Old or young, lovely or plain, rich or very rich, he'll keep them company and take their extravagant gifts, but he never stays, and once he's gone, he never comes back. It's fine when you think it's his choice. So many people in this book deserve so much better than they got. I do remember Chaff from District 11, but I had completely forgotten about Sita because she's not really part of the movie. And here she is, just giving me all the information that I want, hugging Katniss and saying that Rue's family is still alive and Thresher's family is still alive. So I don't have to burn down the capital. I probably will anyway, just because they deserve it, but I don't have to burn them down for that specific thing. The capital's a piece of shit. I just finished Catching Fire. It had less impact for me than The Hunger Games did. I think because one of the very few downfalls of having such an incredible book to film adaptation that is so faithful to everything that happens in here is that I remember so much of it so well. So there are very few things in here that surprised me or that shocked me. Whereas with the first book, it had been so long since I'd read it, and there was a lot that had kind of been cut for the movie, which I've watched far more frequently. And so there were just things that hit me really hard. Like little things. Whereas with Catching Fire, like, it's still a good book. But I remember way more of it. And now I can start Mockingjay, probably tomorrow, because it's bedtime for me. And I also picked up Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes today. I'm terrified. I have no idea what to expect. I've just purposely not read any of the excerpts or whatever was released in the lead up to it. It looks very nice in person, but I do have a significant issue with it, which is that compared to the other ones, it's fucking enormous. Like, look at this. This isn't just like taller than the other ones, it's also just sticky outy. Why must you do this to me? I'm ready. I'm settled in for my reading. Bra's off. Stuff's done. Got my snacks. Those are the important things. And I'm about to start Mockingjay. The whole point of me doing this reread and then reading Ballad of Songbirds was like so that I could be back in the world and I wouldn't miss like any little nods to things that we saw in the books, and also just because I really wanted to reread them. But I said at the beginning of this video that I wanted to reread them earlier than this so that I could just jump straight into it, mostly so that I could avoid any spoilers, and I haven't seen any spoilers yet. But Pierre has apparently just finished it, and she posted on Twitter and was just like, can't believe I wasted so much of my time on this book. And I'm like, I read that and I just felt my stomach drop out through my asshole. I was just like, oh fuck, I've put too much trust in Suzanne Collins. Although I said to Rian that I'm now terrified to read Ballad of Songbirds, and she said very wisely that that's the good thing about it being a prequel and not a sequel, because you can forgive a bad setup, but it's harder to forgive something if it creates a new ending for something that you already had closure about. So with that in mind, I feel better. I feel like I can attack it now. Anyway, let's try Mockingjay. I haven't read these books in ages, and I haven't seen the movie for Mockingjay in ages. Rian and I rewatched Hunger Games and Catching Fire, but we never got to Mockingjay Part 1 and 2. So even the movie adaptation, which was not as good as Catching Fire, is not fresh in my mind. So I'm ready to be torn apart. Here we go. So I've been kind of dozing off throughout the night, and I'm only about 86 pages into Mockingjay when I would like to be like 200 pages into Mockingjay. But the fucking propaganda things. People of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for justice. I think I might just try and start getting ready for bed and read a little bit more in bed rather than on the couch, so that next time I doze off I can actually stay asleep. Katniss's self-deprecating humour. I can't. I just love her so much sometimes. When everyone's gathering to talk about like how she makes them feel at different points, and she goes, I suppose that Coin has assembled this strange assortment of people as witnesses to my failure. And then she's talking about, hey Mitch. She said, for a second I'm afraid he's dying. I have to remind myself that I don't care. It's okay to love people, Katniss. Guten Tag. It is Friday night and I am going to be partying hard as I finish off reading Mockingjay. I tried to read some of this on my break at work and I got emotional and I didn't want to cry at work because, I mean, we've all done weird stuff since coming back from lockdown. But I don't want to be the person who suddenly cries at work while I'm eating my pasta. So the conversation between Katniss and Finnick about what Snow is doing to Peter and Annie. Finnick's thing saying it takes 10 times as long to put yourself back together as it does to fall apart. And then he gives her the knots, or the rope to make knots, and then they're friends. I feel every time I reread this, I feel like I'm either firmly on one person's side or I'm firmly on another. And this time I can see both Gale and Katniss's point, especially when it came to like the prep team. Because yes, they should technically symbolize something hateful, but it's hard not to feel sorry for them because they just seem so childlike and so oblivious to what's going on because they've been raised in the capital and they've been raised to think that the Hunger Games is an exciting thing. Katniss is finally starting to smile, or finally like holding herself together, and Gale's just like looking unhappily at her and Finnick because for whatever reason. And Katniss is sitting there going, I guess that probably rubbed him the wrong way, me seeking out Finnick's company instead of his. Well, fine. I've got rope burn on my fingers, I can barely hold my eyes open, and a camera crew's waiting for me to do something brilliant. And Snow's got Peter. Gale can think whatever he wants. And I'm just like, yeah, fuck you, Gale. You can think whatever you want. That's what I'm getting annoyed about. Like, you're in the middle of a rebellion, a revolution, and you're sitting there getting mad because this girl who has like significant PTSD and head trauma is maybe not sure whether or not she wants to dive into a relationship with you, but you're gonna make like little upset puppy dog eyes at her in the middle of a district that has been firebombed, and you're gonna be like, oh, I knew you would kiss me because I'm hurting and that's the only time I can get you to pay attention. Shut the fuck up, man. The audacity to sit there and be like, our love is just as important as millions of lives. I'm not about that. I'm not about that at all. And don't get me wrong, I sometimes was like getting mad at Peter, but Peter seemed to handle it a little bit better when, like, yeah, he was wounded, but he seemed to handle it when Katniss was like, I don't know what's going on. It upset him, but he wasn't bitching about it like Gale was bitching about it. And then when Katniss is trying to say, like, District 13 is alive and well, and so am I, and she's surrounded by those roses, and everyone's just gone, oh shit. She understands now. Like, we never explained this to her, and now she understands, and now she is upset and she's broken and we can't do anything with her. Like, just... And then, despite everyone wanting to hug her and comfort her and everything, she just runs straight to Haymitch and is just like I love Katniss and Haymitch's relationship. Like, they're so much alike and they rub each other the wrong way all the time. But when it comes down to it, he's just comforting her because that's what she needs. Don't cry. See, this is what happened. This is what happened at work. I was like, oh my God. They can still comfort each other. They're still a team. And I was like, all right, shut the fucking book. I'm back on my couch with my cat. And if I start sobbing here, no one cares. I'm trying to figure out why it bothers me so much the way that Gale phrases things. Because he's just had the conversation with Katniss where he says, he looked at Peter and he thought, I'll never compete with that, no matter how much pain I'm in. I don't stand a chance if he doesn't get better. You'll never be able to let him go. you'll always feel wrong about being with me. And like, I understand what he's saying, but something about it just irritates me. Like, yes, Katniss really struggles to see anybody in pain, and she always feels like she owes it to somebody. She owes something to somebody. She's racking up this constant list of debts, even if nobody is holding them against her. But he's turning it into, like, is this what it would be like if he and Katniss were together? Like, he would always try and make her feel like she owed him something to keep her around? Or he would always try and manufacture some kind of drama so that he was feeling hurt, or she was seeing him as being hurt, and so she acted on her instinct to take care of him and to protect him and to love him and to mollycoddle him. Like, is that what life with Gale would be like if none of the rest of the book happened and everything was just like happily ever after and it was the two of them? At what point would he stop doing that and stop preying on those instincts of hers and just let her love him the way that she's able? Or, like, if she's even able to love him? Like, this is what frustrates me about love triangles, is that oftentimes it's these two dudes who are in love with this girl, usually in YA novels, and they just, it's like it has to be either him or me. And with Katniss, like, honestly, it could be neither of them. It could be neither of them, and it would still be perfectly true to who Katniss is. And that just never seems to have crossed Gale's mind, that maybe even if Peter weren't in the picture, Katniss would only be with him because she felt like that was the path that she was walking down. Not because she necessarily desperately wants to be with him, not because she loves him in that way, but because that's what's expected of her and she doesn't want to hurt him. And to me, that is just not good enough. I'm just not here for it. I'm getting more mad at him now on this reread than I think I ever have before. Because putting myself in that position, I would just be fucking furious. Finnick just died. You finally got to be happy with Annie. After years of being sold to people in the capital, after years of watching people that he loved die, and worrying about Annie when she was kidnapped. Like a whole decade of shit. And now he's dead. Because of these stupid fucking lizard things. And it just happened so quickly. Like, so many people have just died in the sewers because of these stupid mutts. And they just, it's like a paragraph and then it's over. And then they're still running. And I just want some time to mourn Finnick. I'm now reading this and Finnick is younger than I am. It's not a very long life, especially when you've lived so much of it in fear. Fuck. I didn't even register that Caster died. I didn't even register that until Pollux was just crying. More people dead. Pollux spent so many years in the sewers. And he was terrified to be down there, and this fucking horrible place takes his brother away from him too. It's great. It's great. Love it. Sick. Do you remember how I was like pissed about the way Gale was phrasing everything to do with Katniss and their love triangle. She's just overheard Gale and Peter talking, and Gale said that he reckoned Katniss would choose whoever she thinks she can't survive without. And Katniss says, "There's not the least indication that love or desire or even compatibility will sway me. I'll just conduct an unfeeling assessment of what my potential mates can offer me, as if in the end it will be the question of whether a baker or a hunter will extend my longevity the most." It's a horrible thing for Gale to say, for Peter not to refute, especially when every emotion I have has been taken and exploited by the Capitol or the rebels. At the moment, the choice would be simple. I can survive just fine without either of them. Fuck yeah. Fuck the system. Fuck this love triangle. I mean, I love Peter. And sometimes I like Gale. But this thing is shitting me off. Look, here's my gripe, okay? So Prim's dead. And that's horrific. Katniss did literally everything that she could to save her sister. That's the whole reason that we even have this series to begin with. And Prim still died. And it fucking sucks. And yet, somehow, Gale Hawthorne manages to make it about him. Now, I know Katniss asked him, was it your bomb? Was that the reason that my sister was killed? Was it your bomb? And Gale's talking about it and all that sort of stuff. But I cannot stand. He says, it doesn't matter, you'll always be thinking about it. And yeah, fair enough. And then he goes one step further. And it's not just about whether or not their friendship is ruined. It's the implication that the only reason that it's an issue is because it means that she will never look at him romantically. That was the one thing I had going for me, taking care of your family, he says. Like, in terms of friendship, that wasn't the one thing that he had going for him. He had their years of history. He had their hunting together. He had all of these memories and everything like that. So the only thing that he can be talking about in that specific circumstance is when it comes to when she's choosing between him and Peter, who she wants to be with. And the one thing, Peter protected Katniss at all costs during the games. And the one thing that Gale had going for him that Peter didn't was that Gale had always protected Katniss's family. And so, this, 13-year-old girl is dead. And Gale has the audacity to somehow make it about how shit he feels because, oh no, he's never gonna romantically be with Katniss again. I'm fucking fuming. This garbage disposal of a human being. I feel like I've read this differently this time. I'm far less sympathetic towards him than I ever have been before. And maybe it's just age and time and dealing with so many garbage human beings, but the way he is framing this is not on. And you know what? I feel no more pity for you. None. I used to think I wouldn't have minded who she ended up with. But this book, and I think that's the issue with Mockingjay, because the first time I read it, I had an issue because I couldn't connect to Katniss, on a mental level. And the second time I read it, I could connect to Katniss on a mental level. And I just loved the entire book. And now, this time that I'm reading it, I don't know how many times I've read it, but this time that I'm reading it, I can connect to Katniss on a mental level. I can connect to other people on a mental level. I can even connect to Gale on a mental level. I understand some of his thought processes more. And there are times when he's arguing with Katniss and I'm like, I can see both sides of the argument, to be honest. And I don't know who I'm siding with more. But I'm not, this love triangle thing, more than ever, it is present in Mockingjay, because Gale and Peter are having these conversations, and Gale's like manufacturing ways for Katniss to kiss him and pointing out that she only kisses him or she only cares about him when she's... It's not about you! Katniss's sister is dead. Do not turn this into, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me, I'm never gonna get the girl that I want because maybe I created a shit bomb that killed a bunch of people. Maybe. What an absolute sob story. Oh, bleeding hearts everywhere. Shut up. I forgot about the last Hunger Games and the fact that they're using the capital children for the tributes. I forgot about that. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about that outcome. Oy. Oy vey. It gets me every time when Buttercup comes back and Katniss is just sitting there going, she's not coming back. She's never ever coming back here. And I know that it gets me every time because look at this. That is a freaking tear splotch. That is a tear splotch from me reading this previously and still being really upset that the cat's upset. I forgot that Annie was pregnant and that Finnick never got to see his son. And it's nearly over. Oh my god. I thought I was going to end this book really angry because of the thing with Gale, and I'm not. It's going to end in tears. I finished my reread of the original books. It's a really good series. It really is. Obviously, it has made me feel some shit. One thing I'm not sure about, like, they went through the whole rigmarole of voting for the Hunger Games with the capital children, but then later on, after Katniss shot Coin, she was just like, we can't live in a world where the Hunger Games happens. And then it's like never mentioned again. Like, did they actually have it? Did they actually go through that? Or did she come to her fucking senses and go, ooh, maybe I don't want to be that person. I don't know. It's just, it never seems to be mentioned. So I know that love triangles were a big thing when these books were written, but I need it less and less, and I appreciate it less and less every time I reread these books. It feels very much like something that the Capitol would do in the Hunger Games. As if the fact that people are going through trauma and deaths and dealing with their own survival and all that sort of stuff, as if that's not enough, there just has to be something extra. And on the one hand, appropriate, but on the other hand, just bothersome. I really like the last line. She makes a list in her head of every act of goodness she's seen someone do. It's like a game, repetitive, even a little tedious after more than 20 years, but there are much worse games to play. And I really like that line. I don't know whether I need the, like, oh, we ended up having kids, blah, blah, blah. Because it was powerful enough when they ended it with, like, the real or not real, like, yes, you love me kind of thing. And the last line was really impactful as well. Like, there are much worse games to play. And I kind of wish that it had been, like, amalgamated so that those two things could have happened in the same ending. I don't know whether I needed the children. Just because Katniss was so against it. And I know that part of that was to do with the Hunger Games in general and not wanting to bring children up in a world like that. But she just says, like, Peter wanted them so badly. And it makes me wonder whether she obviously loves her kids, but a little part of me wonders whether she thought that she owed Peter one more happiness because of all of the things that they've been through together. Maybe that's just cynical, but after spending 3 books in her head, it's exactly the kind of bullshit that she would come out with at some stage, because she's so wrapped up in owing people, even if they're not paying attention to it. And now that brings us up to speed for me, present Sarah, because at this stage I have finished my reread of the first Hunger Games books, and I'm about to start The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And what follows now will be my reaction to it as I read it for the first time. I've tried so hard to stay away from spoilers, but I have now seen one person say, I can't believe I wasted my time on this, and I have now seen another person say, I stayed up all night reading this is absolutely fucking fantastic. Where will I fall between those two extremes? I don't know. I can't do it. I just have to start. I'm gonna get something to eat, then I'm gonna start. See how I'm still procrastinating by getting something to eat, but I'm not eating any food anywhere near this book because chances are I will spill something on it. So first fuel and then reading. I'll see you in a bit. It's happening. I am installed on the couch. I have my blanket. I have snacks and a water bottle. I have eaten some lunch. My washing is in the washing machine. I've meal prepped. I have done basically everything that I needed to do this weekend. This is my time. I'm starting this book. I'm not procrastinating any longer. I'm so nervous. It never crossed my mind to wonder what day reaping day would be on. Somehow both intrigued and not surprised that it is on the 4th of July. Snow is going to be mentoring the girl from District 12, and we've just seen her reaping, and she's a bit cooked. Hey, she chucked a snake down somebody's shirt and then sang a song on the stage, like not like a hanging tree style song, but like, you can't take my sass, you can't take my talking, you can kiss my ass and then keep on walking. Nothing you can take from me was ever worth keeping. I don't know what tune goes with this, but it's definitely not slow and mournful. It strikes me as strange for a couple of reasons. Like, first of all, this is only 10 years after the rebellion, the Dark Days or whatever it is. So it's only 10 years after that. And I would have thought that some of the peacekeepers who were around would be like bashing the shit out of her to stop her from doing anything like that, because it seems super disrespectful to what the Capitol's doing. And also, I get the impression like this is the first time that they're having mentors, and there's no talk of like, Snow's only just talking about how maybe they could have some interviews and stuff and maybe dress up some of the tributes, but it doesn't seem like that's the case at the moment, and the arenas aren't like fully established. It's just they get chucked in this amphitheater and they just have to fucking kill each other. It's not like the Hunger Games that we know from the later books. There's no like big arena or big like fashion part of it yet. So I don't really see how this is helping her when I don't feel like they would have done the sponsor thing yet. It's still a new world, but it seems like an interesting choice. I'm a little over a quarter of the way through this book. I'm at like page 140. I haven't had very many like guttural reactions to this so far. Maybe I should have, but so far it's just kind of plodding along. I feel like I'm supposed to feel a bit sorry for him, and I don't yet. I don't really give two shits about him. Like, it's interesting to see what was going on for the people in the Capitol during the war, after the war, and all that sort of stuff. And it's interesting to see the way that the Hunger Games were carried out right towards the beginning, like before any of the interviews and fashion parades and all that sort of stuff had been put into place. So that part of it I do find interesting, but I can't call him Coriolanus or whatever. Like, it sounds stupid when I say it out loud. So the girl that Snow is trying to mentor. It's not that Lucy is accommodating. I can understand Lucy being accommodating because there seems to be a lot less structure around these games. Like, there's no guarantee that they're going to go in at a certain time or that they're going to receive a specific kind of treatment. So she has to act accommodating in order to ensure that Snow would still bring her food and that he would do his best to keep her alive and he would do his best to keep treating her well. I'm not really sure what's confusing me, but I'm just like not vibing with her character. Maybe it's that there doesn't really seem to be an undercurrent of annoyance yet or anything. Like, she seems to be pretty fine with just being chosen for the Hunger Games. Like, there was just this big explosion and a whole bunch of people have died. Like, several of the tributes have died already. And maybe by the end of it, Lucy's just gonna win because there's gonna be no one fucking left. Like, maybe that's how it's gonna play out. Because I know that in the first book they said there had been 2 District 12 victors and Haymitch was the only one who was left alive. So it's not unfeasible that Lucy could be the District 12 victor. Maybe she's killed. Maybe Snow deliberately kills her because he can't handle the fact that he seems to have a little crush on this District 12 girl. Anyway, absolute fucking scum. Snow just asked how Lucy was doing after the bomb and his doctor was just like, oh, I'm not sure, but they've got a top-notch veterinarian over there. Are you shitting me? You didn't even send a doctor? I'm not surprised, but also just like the way he just casually said it, like, oh, we send a veterinarian to the zoo to look after these tributes. Just like, go fuck yourself. I just got up to part 2 and Lucy is finally getting a bit stroppy with Snow about him being a little shit. As soon as she wasn't fawning all over him, I was just like, yes, I appreciate you. The standard is so low for me. Honestly, just hate Snow and you're fine. I hope Lucy betrays him. I really hope she does. I hope she fucks him over big time because Snow has got this gigantic fucking crush on her. Ugh, his fragile little ego when he was just like, I don't want her to be thinking about anybody else. I want her to be thinking about me. And then when they kissed at the end of the last like mentor session that they had right before she was about to go into the games, I was just sitting there and I'm like, yeah, kiss him. Bite his fucking tongue off. I nearly forgot though when Snow was telling Tigress about the kiss and he's just like, I think she's in love with me. What about you, mate? Because so far I feel like Lucy's a little bit lukewarm and she was like, I'm about to go to my death, maybe I just want to snog someone. And he's like, oh, she's definitely in love with me. You dumb shit. We've also got Lucky Flickerman doing the interviews and stuff. I assume he's like Caesar Flickerman's dad or something. He's kind of shit. Like Caesar, I don't, maybe it was just like having Stanley Tucci playing Caesar in the film adaptations, but like when I was rereading the books I could just only ever hear what Caesar Flickerman was saying in Stanley Tucci's voice, and so it had like gravitas. Lucky he's like a washed up weatherman who's also trying to be a magician. He's so garbage. Welcome back to another day of the Hunger Games universe. I think I got a little bit under halfway yesterday. Things are starting to heat up. They're in the games now and things are happening. But honestly, these games are a shit show. Hey, he's brought in sponsors with a proposal that he made to the head game maker. He has mentioned a few things that I can see becoming the seeds of ideas that will create the Hunger Games as we know them. And I have to assume that he's pretty instrumental in that because right now these games are a hot mess. Like, there's no structure whatsoever. And it's basically just like, let's wait for the kids to kill each other. There's no like real game maker kind of vibe to it. Like, I mean, it's still an arena full of kids trying to kill each other, so not a great thing. But I'm embarrassed for how like terribly planned this is. And at page 323, The Hunger Games has just finished. Lucy won, which was not really a surprise. I assumed that she would win. But just as Snow was like all excited about his victory, it's kind of established that the Dean knows that Snow cheated or had a hand in helping Lucy win in a way that was not entirely approved, because he's got the napkin that Snow gave Lucy with a bunch of food in it, Snow's mother's compact, and the white handkerchief that he used to distract the snakes in the arena. And all of a sudden, Snow is now a peacekeeper. I suppose it doesn't really help his family if he's a peacekeeper. Like, if you're a peacekeeper, all your debts get forgiven, but it's not like the Snows, I think, had any debts. Like, they were poor, but I don't think that they were struggling to pay off any existing debts. I think it was more that they just didn't have the money to then pay for the new taxes on their family home. So I have to assume that they're going to get kicked out of their family home while he is off being a peacekeeper. So Snow is currently a peacekeeper, and he's about to attend his first hanging in District 12. The crowd fell silent, and a peacekeeper read out the list of crimes the condemned Arlo Chance had been convicted of, including the murder of 3 men. Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. I swear to God, if Lucy ends up being the person who sings this and she's talking about fucking Snow meeting her at midnight in the hanging tree, I'm gonna riot. Because I do like that song and I don't want Snow to be associated with it. Or a dead man called out for his love to flee. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. I'm right. It's a mockingjay. It's a mockingjay that is singing out for the girl to run, so the dead man can call out for his love to flee. Cause it's a mockingjay. I got caught up because I was like, oh, it's a mockingjay that's singing it, and that's so cool because the mockingjay is singing out for his love to flee. But then later Katniss, who is the mockingjay, sings out for his love to flee in the song. And I got too caught up in it, but it's a jabberjay because mockingjays can only like sing. They can't mimic human voices as well as jabberjays can. So there are mockingjays and jabberjays present at this hanging. So I wasn't completely wrong. She's right in the hanging tree right now. Bet that's a thorn in your side, Snow. I'm done for the night because it's getting late and somebody needs some dinner and to go to bed. But this possessive bullshit that's like, Snow's just met up with Lucy again and they've kissed a little bit. He's like, oh, she's my girl. Oh, I need to lay down some rules for her ex-boyfriend because he needs to know that... What bullshit did he say? It was time anyway that he confronted Billy Torp and laid down a few rules. Billy Torp had to accept that Lucy Gray was no longer his, but belonged firmly and for always to Coriolanus. Or however the fuck you pronounce his name. I'm still calling him Snow because I hate him. But how about people aren't your possessions? How about shut the fuck up? And how about go shit yourself, honestly? Okay, here we go. Last 130, I don't know how to do maths. 126, I have 126 pages left. I was gonna say I can't believe I needed a calculator for that, but no one's surprised here. I never said maths was my strong suit. Let's try this again without whacking myself in the head. I just finished reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I feel mostly that it wasn't essential. I didn't mind having a glimpse of what things were like in the capital, but I didn't ever really give a shit about Snow. And I liked Lucy only when she was like betraying him, ready to kill him, whatever was going on. Every time I thought that she was being duplicitous and that she was going to completely screw him over, I was like, yes, Lucy, go for it. And every time she was pretending to be in love with him, I was like, you know what, I don't give a shit if you die. Maybe that's just how I feel about him and it's too difficult to overcome. I don't think it needed to be a 500-page book. I don't want to say like fan fiction. It didn't really make it feel like fan fiction. It just didn't have the same vibe as the rest of the Hunger Games books. And yes, it's a different narrator. Yes, it's a different style of writing and all that, but it just wasn't really to my taste. While I enjoyed the kind of less direct connections to the Hunger Games, like people with the same surnames and references to how the Hunger Games came about and all that sort of stuff, that was what really interested me. But when it came down to the entire part where he was in District 12 and Lucy riding the hanging tree and all that sort of stuff, I was like, that's the point where it started feeling a little bit more like fan fiction, because it was like, how can I make this absolutely intrinsically linked to everything that happened in the Hunger Games? How can I get them to dig up some Katniss from the lake? How can I get them to have the hanging tree? How can I get them to have the Valley Song? How can I get them to go to the lake house and all that sort of stuff? Like every single one of those things started to feel a little bit too contrived, and I didn't need that element of the story for it to be successful. Had it just been something about the games and then gone on to Lucy and Snow like having a little fight or death match, whatever the heck happened, because it's not really, there was no real closure to it, I suppose, that would have been fine. Like I did with the Hunger Games, maybe years down the track I'll reread this and I'll get something out of it that I didn't get the first time around. But I don't feel like it's ruined the Hunger Games for me, which is good. And it doesn't provide me with a new ending that completely undermines everything that has happened in the original 3 books that I loved. So I'm fine with that. I mean, Suzanne Collins is still a good writer. I just, because she did so well at setting President Snow up in the original books, it was just too hard for me to connect with him. And someone else maybe will. I know I've seen some people who are like, yeah, this book was amazing. But for me, I really need to be able to connect with a character, and I just wasn't able to do that. I suppose at the end of the day, even though this wasn't like a 5-star read for me, even if it wasn't something that was as amazing as I hoped it would be, it did encourage me to go back and reread the original Hunger Games books. And I'm really appreciative of that, because I've spent so long rewatching the movies and going, oh yeah, they're really similar. Don't really need to reread the books because, you know, they're some of the best movie adaptations out there. But there's still things to be found in the books, particularly in the Hunger Games and in Mockingjay. There are still little details that I had completely forgotten about and that I really enjoyed going back and rediscovering, which you can tell based on how much I freaking cried throughout this entire reading vlog. I wish that I had had the same connection to this, but I didn't, and I am okay with that. And that's it. We are finally at the end of this video. I say finally because I haven't edited it yet, but I assume that it is going to be a bit of a beast. If you have stuck around for this entire thing, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you have enjoyed watching whatever I went through. I know that it was horrific for the first 3 books. I gotta stop procrastinating and start reading this book so that I can piece this all together. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!